Steve, you don't like the new open of the show. You've made that abundantly clear, right?
It's a lot of Paulie, that's all.
Yeah, no.
Maybe too much Paulie.
Maybe it's because the guests all like me. And maybe we can, our first guest is Wes. Maybe we can have him make like a generic fake nice thing about Steve. Like, hey, Wes, could you generically say something? Insert Stephen Fonte's name here nice so I can put it in the open of the show.
Steve's my favorite part of the show.
What's going on?
Steve is my favorite part of the show. How's that?
I like that. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
I wonder,
Thank you for saying
can I just say this? I'm watching you guys on video. Paulie, what in the hell's the deal with the Padres gear? Are you like a Padres guy?
Yeah, I'm from San Diego.
Did you drive to Syracuse, Paulie?
No, I flew here back in the day. So.
Just checking.
Yeah.
The last flight was for the national championship team, right?
Yeah,
the 2003 SU national championship team. That was his last flight.
And should have been, given the way that turned out. So there you go.
Right.
How you guys doing? All right?
Exactly. We're doing great. How about yourself?
Things are good. Excited to be there on Saturday. Always like coming up that way, but at the same time, looking forward to seeing two teams that are rolling here again, which is nice. Syracuse has kind of gotten there in a unique way, I think, and now with the injury to Angeli, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Ricky Collins handles the operation of the offense. But Duke is the team that was a good rebound for them on Saturday at home against NC State. I wasn't quite sure how that game was going to go, to be honest with you guys, and it turned out to be a real show for Anderson Castle at running back for them, but also their defense started making plays. Trey Freeman, the interception, of course, and things of that nature, and they blocked a kick. So I think we're setting the table for a pretty nice game at noon on Saturday.
Yeah, the winner of this one, 2-0 in conference play, and will be sitting atop the conference standings, most likely with one or two others, depending on what Georgia Tech and Virginia do. But it is a big game in the Dome. We'll get into that here in a little bit. We got a lot to get to from yesterday, Wes, and let's start with the news from the ACC reprimanding Syracuse for the faking of the injuries against Clemson on Saturday, $25,000, and we talked about it on the show yesterday. We feel like a lot of people are doing it. Syracuse just didn't do a great job of hiding it. What do you make of the conference, maybe making an example out of Syracuse and saying, hey, don't do this because if you do, you're going to get fined?
Well, and I think that's a good way to prove it or touch on it, because I think there was going to be a first one, and the first one was layered out at $25,000. And to be honest with you, Steve, I kind of felt like some of this was going to happen. Some of the other fines that have been handed out by other leagues and reprimands and that kind of thing led me to believe that the first time it happened, there was going to be a monetary piece to it, and certainly there was here in this case. This is something that I can just tell you was a point of emphasis when we had our football seminar at ESPN, and Steve Shaw, the national coordinator of officials, went at length on this. And basically turned over a lot of cards that I don't think any of us in the media had realized. The damage and the momentum stops and things like this. We saw it on the field, but did we really go back and understand, the scenarios in games, situations, third down, first down, momentum building, all those type things? You saw what you saw on television, but did you really understand in the full game scope? And I think college football and the management of college football on a higher level, CFP on down if you want, they looked at this and said, hey, look, we got to come up with a plan here, or else it's going to be out of control by the time we get back around to it. And for me, I thought they did what they had to do. I'm sorry, from a Syracuse perspective, that the Orange were the first guilty party in the ACC, but you got to keep your coaches on the sideline. Some people haven't, as you guys know. I think there's one in the Mountain West that's pretty severe as well, as I recall. Some of the days run together here pretty quick early in the season. But for me, look, it happened. You got a fine. You could have lost a coach, could have lost a player for a suspension, those type things. Let me just say this. I'm not surprised. And the list, they're trying to curb this thing. And the best way to do it is to do it from a financial end, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, we were saying yesterday that isn't what determined the game, right? I mean, Syracuse outplayed Clemson for 60 minutes. And
yeah, let me add this real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Cade Klubnik's postgame had nothing to do with this. Now, that's an easy attachment to it, but Cade Klubnik's postgame didn't have anything to do with this. This was already in the works. I'm not saying this with ACC knowledge. I'm just saying the way the games are evaluated and the things I know about how football officiating is taking shape now on the collegiate level, this was already in the works. They were look at the things that went on last week in college football and other leagues. I think it was at Florida they had the problem, if I'm not mistaken, in the SEC. I could be wrong there. But in other ways, this was a point of emphasis in the game nationally, is what I'm getting at.
Sure. So just going back to the game in general, I'm sure you saw how it all played out. Syracuse really dominated that thing start to finish. They were up 10-0 before Clemson even touched the ball on offense. They scored. They got the onside kick. They scored again.
Yep.
What did you make of that performance? I mean, I think those here in Syracuse, we were pleasantly surprised with the way that they played. From a national perspective, Wes, how do you kind of decipher what you saw?
Number one, I thought Syracuse took the fight to Clemson, and they dictated the fight the whole way. And I thought the opening drive set a tone. And I'll tell you the most important part, guys, that I was impressed with was after the rain delay, the lightning delay, they came back and still brought the fight, because we had seen Clemson come back on Troy, obviously a lesser team, after a weather delay. I was impressed that Coach Brown and his squad brought the fight again and dictated the fight again. And here's the other part about this. And this, I think, they exposed Clemson to a higher level than Georgia Tech. They exposed Clemson to a higher level than LSU. It almost looked like Clemson had no answers on any side of it. Now, they had some answers in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. They had some answers against LSU. They had no answers on Saturday. And that's a lot of credit to Fran and his team and the players in particular. I'm as sorry as I can be about the Angeli injury. Just a really, really tough break, and you feel for the kid. But at the same time, I'll finish with this too, Steve and Paulie. Ricky Collins came in there, and you know what? Ricky Collins was ready to go. And I'm really interested to see now, with a full week of prep under his plate as the number one guy, what that looks like on Saturday at noon as well.
Wes, what do you make of this from the Clemson perspective? I was down there.
Oh boy,
that is not a happy fan base.
No.
There's a lot of booing and a lot of inappropriate chants going on at that game.
Paulie, here's the thing with Clemson. It's like if it happened, well, and I mean, let's be honest. You guys have seen it in basketball, right? Let's be honest. It when it doesn't go well and it starts to teeter a little bit, it can be difficult. And Clemson is a place where an expectation was in place for this to be really, really good this year. And I said this yesterday with Roddy Jones on our SiriusXM show on ACC Radio. Clemson's biggest challenge the rest of the year is not who they're playing on the field. It's when they look in the mirror. Clemson has to decide what Clemson's going to be now. This has gone beyond who they're lining up against. Next week it's Carolina and Chapel Hill. Okay, great. You should win the game. They were favored to win by 13.5 on Saturday. Didn't win. Lost by 13.5 or whatever the number was. The idea here, Clemson has got to get Clemson fixed. There's so many things that they have to address about themselves now because, and this is the point I made yesterday with Roddy. Guys, the expectation level of what we had Florida State being a year ago might, emphasis on might, be the problem facing Clemson. Clemson is looking at the fact that the guys on that team now, yeah, they won an ACC championship. Some of them played a role in it. Klubnik did a couple of years ago in Charlotte. Last year, he was involved in the win there. Nolan Hooser kicked the field goal that won the game from 56 yards against SMU. But on the whole, Steve and Paulie, the core of that program's not been involved in any national championship march. There's not a player on that roster involved in national championship march. Now we're talking about limiting of coaches that were really involved in that national championship when they beat Alabama and Santa Clara. Every time this happens, you distance yourself from your success. And that makes coming back to that level even more difficult. And I think that's what Clemson's facing now. And look, it is more than likely, what affects Clemson is more than likely within the walls of their own program right now. Because Syracuse, take nothing away from what they did. But Clemson is not meeting Clemson's expectation now. And it's week in, week out. It's Atlanta. It's against Troy, even though they won. It's against LSU. And it's certainly last Saturday against the Orange.
Yeah, that's really well said, Wes. And you said a moment ago that Clemson had no answers for what Syracuse was doing. And, we've seen this Syracuse offense now move the ball and put up points against everybody, Tennessee included, and Clemson now on the road, there in Death Valley. When you look at Jeff Nixon, their offensive coordinator, are we giving him enough credit? I mean, do you look at him as truly one of the best OCs, in the conference / maybe even in the country? And do you think he's going to be a head coach someday?
Well, I think he's definitely going to be a head coach. He's going to have an opportunity to be, but right now, I would take he and Buster Faulkner at Georgia Tech as the two guys who are driving offensive football in the ACC. Shannon Dawson would fall in that category. And by the way, so would Jeff Brewer, who's coming in on Saturday as the offensive coordinator at Duke. I mean, you think about what Duke has done offensively now. They're averaging better than 7 yards a play in their 4 games so far. I'm really excited to see the game Saturday because I do agree with you, Steve, on that light. Jeff Nixon and Brewer, the offensive coordinator for Duke, are going to have it's a hell of a matchup on paper offensively, and the defenses are reflected too. I said Jonathan Brewer, who is the coordinator for Duke. They've done a phenomenal job there, and I'm excited to see kind of how all this plays out. To be honest with you. Because it's really an interesting matchup offensively. Duke created balance last week, run game to throw game. Syracuse has had that balance. The opening drive the other day, Clemson, am I right? It was 5 runs, 7 passes. Is that right? Or 7 runs, 5 passes. It was a great shift.
I think they ran the first 5 plays, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I think they ran the ball 5 plays in a row, and then they went to the air and they went down and scored.
Exactly, and it was a great gear shift by Nixon. He did a marvelous job with the opening drive, and I think it's one of those deals where, we're going to have a great offensive show on Saturday, and the defensive team maybe that makes a play or gets the stop is probably the one that ends up benefiting in the end.
7 yards per play for Duke, Paulie. That's pretty good. 7. Even you can do the math.
Yeah, the math on that.
You get a lot of first downs.
Yeah, you don't need all 4 downs.
We do have to ask you about the conference schedule.
Sure.
That was announced yesterday as well. Yep. We knew it was kind of trending in this direction, right? But the 9+1 model, the 9 conference games, the 1 extra Power 4 opponent. I would assume that we all kind of expected this, right? You expected this, Wes. How is it going to be put into practice given the numbers, right? Given Notre Dame and the numbers don't quite add up. How is this all going to work in the ACC from what you understand?
My guess is going to be that we're going to have 16 teams. Now, follow me on this, okay? This is the only thing I can tell you. My guess is we're going to have 16 teams play 9 games and 1 team play 8. How's that?
And then that one team would then have to play 2 Power 4 opponents out of conference, theoretically?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Now,
that makes sense.
And look, I'm not positive on that. I just don't think here's kind of where this went, in my opinion. It's not realistic to make Notre Dame a conference game. Right? That doesn't make any sense. Notre Dame's not in the league. You don't want to you're going to play Notre Dame. They can be one of your non-conference games. Here's the other thing, too. In my opinion, there's already been a preamble bridge built between the Southeastern Conference and the ACC to keep the 4 season-ending rivalries together. Okay? I think that's good. It also allows, too, if you start thinking about the 16 teams that are going to play 9 games and the one that's going to play 8, it allows you to kind of rotate that if you choose to, or determine it much like Premier League. It's funny. It's funny how we live in a little bit of a soccer world on some of this now, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can take either the last team of the year will only play 8, or the championship team will only play 8. The team but that doesn't make sense either. So you got to figure out who's going to play 8. Are you going to rotate it through? Well, oh God, every 18 years we're going to play 8 games. That's going to affect 3 coaching administrations the way college football is now, maybe 4. But, the idea is that to me is the best long-term sense in the ACC, because then either if you lose a team or you add a team, you can make the adjustment, guys. That's the reality of it.
I do have one follow-up on this. So the article I was reading from ESPN said that it will go into effect in 2026, but then fully be implemented in 2027. So like with Syracuse's schedule next year, they've already got 8 conference games, obviously. They've got Notre Dame, which makes 9.
That's correct. That's not 9 conference games. That's not 9 conference games. That's just 8 still.
Right. So will they have an extra conference game be added to the schedule, and will they lose one of their other non-conference games, I guess is what I'm asking.
That question is better asked to John, obviously. But I would say at this point, yes, that would be my opinion. Now, I wasn't in the room yesterday. I've talked to a couple people who superficially kind of gave me some ideas ahead of yesterday's meeting. But I would say I think that's probably the plan. Look, I'll tell you a personal side of this. So I went to school at Elon. Paulie knows that, Steve. And Elon's scheduled to play Stanford next year, okay, as part of their FBS. Like this year they played Duke. Next year they're supposed to play Stanford. And when this came into effect yesterday, my first thought was, well, Elon's not going to play Stanford next year because Stanford already has Hawaii and San Jose State on their schedule. And if they play 9 league games, that's 11. Now, maybe they do. I don't know. We'll see. Right. But I think those are the games. Now, remember this, too, and I think this was written in one of the articles. NC State and Virginia are supposed to play again next year as part of that non-conference thing they did in week 2. So that now is a conference game. Think of those type games that have already been scheduled among some ACC members as well. And adding that other conference game does not negatively impact your television arrangement. In fact, it helps your television arrangement. And it also helps in the bigger picture of the CFP, rather, in terms of the scheduling metric that now comes into play. But here's the other part. You need to make sure you're getting those P4 non-conference contracts lined up. Don't sit around and wait on Notre Dame. Don't sit around and wait on, whatever. Go ahead and be proactive. If you're John Wildhack or if you're any other athletic director, be proactive with who you want to play as part of that 2-game, P4 arrangement. You can play a MAC team. You can still play somebody else. But think about how your non-conference games are going to line up. You need to re-engineer some of that accordingly as we move down the line.
Wes, I got one favor to ask you, too, is can you put maybe some of the Twitter fans at Syracuse at ease, going back to the fining of Syracuse, that it wasn't done by the ACC because they beat Clemson?
It was not done. It was not done because you won the road game, folks. I promise you. It was done because, again, feigning of injuries, okay, nationally is a point of emphasis by all of college football. It's just what it is at this point in time. Okay. So that's why it happened. And they have the tape. They have all the look now, the Game Day Operations Center, which has been fun for us to have the access, right, on some of these review calls on our show has been great. But that Game Day Operations Center's got, as many cameras as a shopping mall at times. So that kind of thing, they're going to see it and they're able to look at it and capture it and then go back and review it and administrate it. So when the guy goes down with the sniper shot from somewhere out in the middle, right? Remember the kid that used to go down like 16 yards off the ball? Oh, my God, a cramp. Here we down he goes. Right. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And so they go back and investigate all that, and that's part of the issue for sure.
Yeah, I was there, and I prefaced this yesterday. I'm not a doctor, but it didn't look good.
Well, we saw the same thing.
You mean it didn't look, Paulie, the term is it didn't look medical, is what you're saying. It didn't look medical. Right. There you go.
Wes, I feel like we could talk to you all day. We love having you on. Thanks so much for giving us some time, and we look forward to seeing you inside the Dome on Saturday.
Hey, Paulie, you know what I'm going to do this week when I come up there? I'm going to go have dinner with the HOFer.
Oh, nice. Is that right? Do you know where you're
I'm not going to. No, we're not advertising that. Come on, man. I'm not doing that. But I'm having to.
You don't have to tell us, but do you know where you're going? Is it all locked in?
I don't know. I don't know. He's taking me and our producer and a couple other people, but he's not paying. We're not letting him grab the wallet this time. He tries to pay all the time. We're not doing that.
I don't mean to brag or anything, but he has told me he would never go to dinner with me. So.
He has told me.
No wonder the open of this show just applauds you to just beat yourself up a little more, right? Come on, Steve. Steve, you're in TV, man. You got to roll some stuff in here to counteract this Paulie love fest that the opening billboard.
He made it, so he made it. I mean, it's I'm at his mercy.
I can't get anybody to say anything nice about this guy.
Unbelievable, because you're not asking the question either, Paulie.
Exactly.
Take care, guys. Great to see you. We'll see you this weekend.
Thanks for having my back. I'll see you soon.
All right, be well.
Wes Durham joining us here on the show. He'll be on the call for Syracuse Duke on Saturday noon kick with what is a very big game inside the Dome. Both these teams 1-0 in conference play, and the winner's going to be 2-0, a quarter of the way through their conference schedule. So that's certainly something. 315-437-7644. We're going to take a timeout here. We'll get to your phone calls next on ESPN Radio.